Like a lot of winemakers I've met, Alan Limmer has a pretty serious second passion. Can you guess what it is? Back at Alan's winery Stonecroft, I find more Porsches than wine bottles. Other than the runabout, Alan's got a backup Porsche in the second garage and a spare Porsche in the storage garage. And this one, well, it's not going anywhere.
So, Alan, you were the first one to plant Syrah in Hawke's Bay, and these are the original vines that you rescued.
Yeah, we got a small cutting for each of these vines, planted them out. This original row here is basically the source of the material for the New Zealand industry.
You got a cutting about that long and just stuck it into the ground, and this turned into a grapevine.
Yep.
So what were they going to do with them? They were just going to chuck them?
The collection at the research station was about to be sort of bulldozed, basically, and that research station's gone now. It doesn't exist. So when we put them in the ground, they were basically the only source of Syrah we had in New Zealand. And
there's a very special link between these vines and the oldest Shiraz vines in Australia, isn't there?
There's a very good chance that these came into the country through James Busby back in the 1840s, and the records show that that material came in from the Sydney Botanical Collection. So there's a very good possibility this is the same material as the very old vine Shiraz in Australia.
So the old vines in the Barossa and the Hawke's Bay Syrah may very well have had the same dad.
Exactly.
Alan, I'm dying to know, we know there's a link between the vines here and possibly the vines in Australia, but why aren't you calling it Shiraz here?
Well, that was a question I had to ask myself when we put out the first wine, because there was none in New Zealand at the time. And I chose Syrah because it's another name for the grape, but it indicates perhaps a different style. If I'd called it Shiraz, people would have expected the Australian style they used to.
What are the differences?
Rather than sort of necessarily just dominated by big upfront fruit, it tends to have a lot of length and I think a lot of interest value and a lot of nuances, fine detail in the wine that you get from a longer, slightly cooler growing season for the fruit.
I'll be really, really curious to see, you know, whether or not there are any similarities between these and the big Barossas. Well, Alan, I started on the big Reds of Barossa, and definitely I think the direction I'm taking my, my taste buds are taking me, maybe in the gravels.
We'll be glad to have you.
Cracka.